Okay, ladies and gentlemen, first off, I do apologize for the default UI. We're going to do something a little experimental here with two players named Jeebus and Shakal. Now, what I'm going to do is fast forward to a very specific point in this replay. I got the idea from Blizzard launch, and we're going to have both of these guys, who are definitely nothing close to the real players of Polt and Snute, take over this replay and see how they handle the rest of the game compared to the way it actually played out. And here we go. Alright, now I have instructed these guys to check out the pause, get used to what you guys have, what they have in the field. And, oh, I'm not a ref, so I can't give any more commands at this point, but basically they're going to play this out to the best of their capabilities. Jeebus is, I believe, a low Grandmaster's Terran player, and Shakal is a high Master's Zerg. So these guys will be playing as if this was for real. Now, this is kind of going to be a best of type thing, because regardless of who wins, we have another set time at which these players will take over after this game. And if it goes to a third game, we do have a third time available. So consider this a best of 3 within the same map that Snute and Polt originally played. Now, Jeebus, looking at what's on the field too, I guess reintroduce you guys who never got to see this live. First off, there will be a link to the original video of Snute versus Polt in the description down below. But as we see here, Jeebus has quite a few Hellions on the field. Is going to poke up here a bit, finds a bit of a wall off coming out of Shakal, and some Queen's going to take a little bit of heat. Now he's going to chase this off for the time being, but what Jeebus has is nothing to be ignored. I mean, a Reaper combined with these Hellions can do a lot of damage to a Zerg player if left unattended. Camera bug. Uh-oh. That's not good. Well, we'll have to see if it gets fixed. If not, we can always redo this, as again, it is the replay. Have to see if this really affects Jeebus. Let's take a look at his vision, what the camera bug is. I have no idea what it is, because apparently we can't see it, but that's okay. Hellions are going to keep frying, and unfortunately I'm not a ref, so I can't communicate to these guys. I have no commands I can give them or mention to them. Shakal, though, is going to follow up with a pretty nice wall, actually. 2 Queens combined between the fatness of the Evolution Chamber and the Spy Crawler will keep him from getting in the base. Unfortunately, these Lings do not have speed just yet. And it will boost quite some time out, so these Hellions are going to try and do what they can, but what they can do is really just poke away at a hatchery. Maybe try and catch these Queens. Yeah, we'll just drive this back for the time being. I really hope that the camera bug is not going to be affecting Jeebus too much. Now, as we see here, he has actually made all his own new hotkeys. He's aligning them. Let's see. Yes, so has Shakal. Because when you take command of replay, you actually are given the default hotkeys slash, well, maybe not hotkeys, but you at least get the control groups that your opponent, or not your opponent, I guess, the player you took over from already had. So if control 1 was Widow Mines, it's still going to be Widow Mines. But oh, speaking of Widow Mines, not too shabby. A small hit goes off. 8 workers killed at this point in the game. Only 3, though, from this very specific drop. Now, the beauty of this, too, is Shakal and Jeebus are 2 players I kind of found on the Battle.net. I don't know their playstyles well. I haven't cast them before in the past. So it's kind of cool getting to see, like, look, you've been set up by the pros. You've had a good start. There's no question about it. How well can you handle it? And right now, Shakal's actually handling these Widow Mines quite nicely. He is still taking drone losses. Not something he wants to do, but he's handling it quite nicely. Overseer should detect it. It's hard to see because it's behind the refinery, I believe. There we go. Trying to find the angle at which you guys can see it. But some creep spray coming out of Shakal. Very nice. This is something that in the original game Polt had shut down almost entirely. There was almost no creep spread in the game versus Snute when Polt was playing, and that's a large part due to those Hellions and those Reapers. Now, a completely different strategy here. We got Mutalisk flyer attacks on the way. Some Mutalisks already on the field, so I mean, it's going to help them do a bit of harassive damage, but I mean, looking back at home, we got a lot of reactors, a lot of barracks. He's not pumping out Vikings, but Medevacs and Marines can easily handle Mutalisks. Yeah, this one Medevac not going to even go down. Shakal is going to be chased off, and goodbye Mutalisks. Going to take off for the time being. Looking at Jeebus' base, he's got turrets up in the mineral lines, he's got engineering base, he's got his tech on the way, he's completely fine, and I gotta say, it looks to be like Shakal's gonna stick with that Baneling Muta composition mixed with, you know, some Zerglings peppered in there. Not a bad composition for Zerg versus Terran in general, especially if your opponent's going Widow Mines, but it's so difficult to break. It's a lot less about the composition you have, but the control you have over your units. Because if you can't handle 700 Banelings, they're all gonna die to Widow Mines. Now, speaking of Woodamines, we do have some burrowing forward. We'll have to see if these units stay clumped, though they do have to be careful. There are no Baneleys here, but it's a lot of Zerglings and a couple Roaches. Now, these Marines are actually going to push in here and do quite a bit of damage. It's been a while since I used the default UI. Can I do this? I can hide the UI. Beautiful, beautiful. Ooh, nice hits are going off with these Widowmines. Going to catch a lot of these Zerglings, but unfortunately the friendly fire damage is hurting our Terran player ever so slightly, but he does retain a large chunk of his forces. They should be able to deal with the Roach left on the field, as of course the Widowmines will rearm in just a moment. These Mulists now coming in from above. Going to start targeting the Medivacs. I like that choice, because the Medivacs, of course, a bigger target priority than the Marines. You can pick off the Marines all day. They just cost minerals. You drop a mule or two and you replace them, no problemo. Now some beautiful stutter stuff here coming out of Jeebus. Starts eradicating the space, even drops to go to the main, and this ledge is the most abusive ledge in the game on this map, but doesn't need to utilize it because of course he's just doing so much damage. Coming across the field, his macro right now is immaculate. Whatever camera bug he had is not preventing him from getting his head in here. Now, Banelings are on the field, no speed just yet, centrifugal hooks on the way, but not quite available, and ooh, taking some nasty hits. But these Widowmines still here, still standing. They're going to catch a lot of the drones on the retreat. How many workers have been killed at this point? 37 and rising. And our Terran player is just going to keep pushing forward. Shakal, unfortunately, his spine collar goes down. It was really the only thing he has to defend. All the queens have been picked off at this point. The Zerglings are trying to do what they can. The Banelings are on their way, but they're not here yet. And again, they still lack that speed. The macro's still funneling in. We just see a line of red funneling across the map here, and it really looks like Jeebus is going to be A-okay as he just continues to push forward. Now Shakal, he's got this other base here, but there's nothing for it. There's no queen, there's no mining. It's a useless base, just some larvae being produced. And in a worst case scenario, right now, Jeebus can lift up and just leave. If there's no Mulists to shut down these Medivacs, there's no Banelings for him to worry about. A queen is poking, but just barely. Now, a lot of these Medivacs are actually out of energy, so each of these stims is going to be a little bit painful for our Terran player. However, I don't think it's going to matter. A lot of Banelings are going to try and connect. Some nice connections, actually, are made, but not before the National Hatchery goes down, and I think Shakal has just taken too much at this point. And I'm imagining that WP, yeah, well played. A very quick game, but that's only the first one. We'll see if we give Shakal a bit of advantage going into Game 2, guys. Oh, we called the well played, but he's not done yet. No, there we go. Victory does go to Jeebus. Alright, now what you guys are going to take a look at here, this is footage from the real game when it was going on live. This was Snute versus Polt, and what's happening here is very distinctively different. Now, unfortunately, I've had to get rid of the audio, because unfortunately it's a lot of someone else talking, as well as myself talking, over top of what I want to say right now. But look what happened here, this small key difference, that extra evolution chamber. It's a different class of player to respond to the Hellions with aggression, and another that can completely just wall off and play it cool while this is going on. It's not easy to keep a cool head when you know aggression's coming your way, whether you're a Zerg player, whether you're any race, and Snute did a great job of just keeping a calm head, and look at the way he holds this off. Okay, it's going to be Polt versus Snute again. However, it won't be them playing, it will be two other players stepping into their shoes for the resume replay feature. Or I think it's take over actually is the official name. I could be mistaken with this, but we are going to fast forward to the 10-minute mark this time. And you're going to see some swift editing here. Welcome back, guys, and here we go. We're going to start this game off in just absolute hell and panic now for our Terran player who is playing the role of Polt. Now, unfortunately, at this point in the game, a Nidus Swarm has already been established. Roaches are flooding through along with some queens, and Shakal, who once again is taking control of Snute, is going to see if he can do a lot of damage here, do enough damage to really shut Jeebus down. Now, Jeebus does have enough to hold this off. Snute in the original game did eventually, and I'm going to focus on the emphasis here, eventually hold this off, but Shakal going to do what he can, see how much damage he can do, and if he can repeat what Snute did. Now, I do want to point out, neither player has prior knowledge to how this went. They were asking, in fact, while we were fast forwarding, like, you know, what was, well, I'll put this here for a second more. Neither of them knows how this game went. They didn't see it live, they didn't get to see the replay in full, they have just been kind of dropped into the situation where it's like, Shazam! Now you got to play for these guys. Now, sniping off the turret is going to go for the reactor. An eerie similarity going on here to the way the original game did play out, but we do have all the SCVs being pulled here for Mr. Jeebus. He doesn't want to get caught off guard by this whatsoever. Unfortunately, all the SCVs are going to go down. How many units are left on the field? So many SCVs picked off at this point. 40 workers killed. The Queen's now being cleaned up, but GG is called in a very quick game coming out of Shakal. Alright, we're going to take a look at what Shakal did that our pro player did as well, but I want to point this is a fast forward to save a bit of time. This is a fairly longer clip, but we see the reactor and the starport getting targeted down right away. We see the starport, the engineering base, the tech labs, all the important critical structures are focused down. The only real distinctive difference between these two players, our pro and our non-pro, is that we see Snute making additional Nidus worms to ferry his roaches around. Now, it's not a big deal because Shakal still managed to pull a win out of that game. It did catch our Terran player Jeebus a little off guard, but I mean, it just shows the difference. There's not that big of a difference between a pro and a non-pro, but it's very close, and it's just these small little things that players can tweak on to really improve their playstyle. But onwards to game 3. Okay, in this third and final iteration of this best of 3, Polt, well, not Polt, but Jeebus, will have the luxury of picking any point in this replay at which to resume the game. Now, he can resume it right away. He can wait till, I don't know, 20 minutes in the game. Well, I guess not 20, but 19 minutes in the game if he wanted to. But he gets to pick, losers pick, because, guys, here's the secret to this game. Polt lost this series originally. Not just this game, but the entire series. It was a 3-2. It was so close, and it was so well played. And I encourage you guys to check out those games. Again, the links are going to be in the description down below, along with any information I can get about these players. If Jeebus and Shakal want any sort of shoutouts, once we're done today, I will ask them if they have Twitters, if they've got Facebooks or anything they would like linked. Maybe they don't. Maybe they do. Who knows? But until then, we'll see how this goes. I would like to take this moment, though, to personally thank both of them for participating in this little experiment here. I'm not sure if anyone will enjoy this video or not. I haven't seen anyone really use the take command feature. Now what I'm going to do is just do a quick little cut here so you don't have to watch us sit through all 10 minutes of this, and you'll basically come back once Jeebus has decided where he wants to take over from. Here we go, guys. We're going to just set up this take command here once more. And this is for the final best of 3 between Jeebus and Shakal. Let's get ready to rock and roll. Now, the point that Jeebus chose to take command, and I did ask him to pause it so they did have time to assess their situations, was not as the Nidus. Now, very bold of Jeebus to choose this timing in particular, but this is as the Nidus was building. Not after it finished, not after units were coming out. And one big key point here, in the original game, I do want to say to you guys, Polt saw this coming, but he didn't react to it. As we see here checking his vision, he knows that the Nidus worm is there. Workers are being pulled to deal with it this time, and unfortunately, he will shut this down. So with the Nidus going down, this is a really unfavorable position. Shakal saying GG immediately, because this is a huge investment. However, I don't feel this necessarily puts a Zerg player out. It absolutely sucks, but one of the big key things about Nidus worms is you can use them as forward reinforcing points and continue with a really aggressive offensive, because look at the front here. Jeebus has nothing. If there was a Nidus worm here, if there's a Nidus worm here at the third, he could have just pushed in through the natural while this was going on, because of course he saw with confirmation that everything was pulled back, and Jeebus predicting like, okay, I knew there was Nidus worms available, I'm going to play this extra safe and not go for the third base that Polt originally had gone for. Yeah, Woodmines are going to burrow, and he's actually setting up quite nicely here. I mean, because what is the response the Zerg player could do? Looking at the units on the field, I mean, the worker count is actually very heavily in Shakal's favor. He's got 3 bases up. Snute, he had originally set himself up for something that could have potentially been an all-in, but not so much that he wouldn't be able to recover from it. And as we see here, lots of drones, lots of macro, checking the upgrades, because of course we are resuming from replay. They are even, 1-1-1-1 apiece. However, no upgrades for the roaches, sadly, as the focus, I believe, was on the later game. But looks to be Shakal sticking once again with the mutalist composition, or at least I'm going to assume as much, as we do have the Baneling speed on the way. Now, he does not have a Spire, I believe. Let me just confirm that. No, he's going for a macro hatchery instead, so this could just be Zergling, Banelings, and Roaches. Not a bad composition at all, but one thing I would like to commend Jeebus on is he does have a tank out on the field, and this will help immensely, coupled with Widow Mines when it comes to dealing with the Banelings. And the positioning of this siege tank could not be better, but I think Jeebus trying to use his knowledge a little bit. Unfortunately, he's got the camera bug again. Trying to use this knowledge a little bit to his advantage here, thinking like, okay, I knew Snute was going to go for somewhat of an all-in, but I don't think he realized that it wasn't a forced all-in, so to say. Now, there's a lot of queens. He's going to continue to spread creep. The upgrades are on the way from +2/+2. If Jeebus can wait, he's going to have that small window of opportunity where his Zerglings will have a massive upgrade advantage for an engagement. But again, he's got to wait for this because he doesn't know that Jeebus' +2/+2 only just started, and the upgrades in a ZVT are so critical, guys. Now, Overseer is still floating around. Unfortunately, there's not a lot he can do as the supply depots here were intelligently built by Jeebus, knowing, alright, there's a Nidus Worm on the field. This is not a conventional game, guys. This is not your typical blind picks on ladder. Both these players having 1-1 game each at this point already know what is on the field for their opponent. That is one of the big disadvantages, but at the same time an advantage, because while you don't know what's going on immediately right now, you knew what was happening before, and both players have that same knowledge, having played this already. Now, pushing forward here is Jeebus, only just now getting this third base set up. His choice to retreat this earlier, I feel, was rather unnecessary. He could be a little bit further ahead than he is currently. I guess checking the income, the worker count is actually even now. But the Nidus Worm coming down once again. A little bit of a bold move, as he does have a lot to contend with here. Now, there's only the one tank, but oh my god, Zerglings are going to flood in. Here's a nice sprinting coming from these Marines. Is it going to be enough that the tank falls? The Marines are going down next, and there's just too much of the Nidus Worm pops as well, so we might see some Roaches come out here to the third base location, and Shakal, surprisingly, will push across the field. I mean, we saw him type the GG right away, guys. I think he thought, like, look, there's no way I can recover from Snute's unfortunate Nidus mishap, but right now, Jeebus does not know. He's about to get hit from two angles, from the right and to the left. Actually, he sees the creep. Okay, so that kind of gives it away. Unfortunately, the Nidus Worm not getting utilized, but oh my god, that's a lot of Banelings coming in. 17 on the front lines, and another Nidus Worm for reinforcements. There are a couple tanks here, though. Poor Shakal does have to be a bit careful. He can't just callously throw his units away. But there's no Widowmine set up here. Polt is gonna, or sorry, not Polt, but rather Jeebus is gonna have to work very hard to hold this. I'm still thinking this is Polt play because, you know, it's whatever, the game he was playing in. SCVs are being evacuated, and unfortunately, all the Banelings detonated on the combination of the command center, and oh, GG is actually called Jeebus. Gonna go down. Shakal continuing the legacy of Snute. Congratulations, and thank you both guys for playing in this little experiment of mine. It was really fun getting to cast this. It's a different way to look at a game I had already done, and it was very exciting to cast, so thank you, thank you. And again, if you guys have any, if you want to get in contact with the players, you think they played well, you think they played poorly, you want to give them some shit, you want to give them some praise, I will have any contact info I can find for them in the description down below. But thanks for watching this best of 3 within, a game. A best of 3 of a best of 1, I believe is referred to as the Blizzard launch. That's what this was. Alright, again, much praise and thank you to Jeebus and Shakal. Neither player, unfortunately, having a Twitter or anything I can give them some love for, so just going to ask them to put a little bit of a clip here, or a little shout out, whether it's to their teams, their mom, the god, or the Flying Spaghetti Monster, whatever. What is my channel on YouTube? Best and worst shout outs ever. YouTube.com/mapcontrol. Thanks, guys. It's been a blast. I'll be up later today.